What is up, Vapesters? So, keeping in spirit with Halloween being right around the corner, I figured that I would do a quick video with a brand new helmet that I made from Connects and also do some vaping and chatting with you guys too. So why don't I get my head out of this, because you can't really vape with it on. So let's take this right off. So here we go. Ha! Nice and purty to go with the helmet. So it's a cool little Connects thing I made a while ago. I still do that every now and again when I get the chance. That helmet right there is based on Savitar from Flash, a really good TV series. Hold on, I had to crack the window so if I'm going to be vaping that the clouds do get out. So today's going to be kind of a flavor review and kind of a chit chat. Of course, as we know, I got my coffee right here. Fresh as always. I got a really good wicking set done today for my Tobe Addy, and I gotta say, I am very happy with how I wicked it today. Perfect amount of bushy cotton, and the flavor just is fresh. But I think my coffee might have gotten a little hot. Yeah, it's steaming all right. Dang, that's hot. Nah, as you saw, definitely a vape trick. But I'm sipping on a nice hazelnut breakfast brew for coffee. But I'm vaping on the flavor we're going to be talking about today. The Cool Ice by Haas. A really good menthol flavor that you can get at Rite Aid right now. And I just picked it up today because I was so low on juice that you would not believe it. Hold up, let's turn off this fan so you guys can probably hear me a little bit better. There we go. So what happened was I was literally this close to the bottom on my 100 milliliters, and I had added water to try and keep it going a little bit longer. But mistake, guys, really big mistake. But so I want to tell you guys what's coming up with the channel. I'm going to be trying my first fused Clapton build, meaning it's instead of being Clapton wire like that flat stuff, I'm going to be trying to do a twisted wire where you take two kinds of wire and you wrap it really tight around it and then turn it into a coil. I'm going to use my 26 gauge at that point along with 34 gauge nickel. So I'm going to be mixing Kenthal and nickel together, and I really hope it works out well because I've never done anything like this. So maybe it'll get a really good resistance. Turns out I built fresh coils today, and the lowest I've ever gotten them. 0.26 ohm resistance, and that's really good. When I built, it was just a simple 6 wrap micro build, 2.5 millimeter, and I did 6 wraps on it. And what happened was when I installed it, it said 0.3 or 0.3 something. And when I put in the second coil, it brought it down to 0.26. So I was really happy with that. That was kind of cool. I wasn't expecting it to do that. But I'm at 50 watts right now. I got the menthol in there, and I'll show you the bushy cotton that's in there as well when I take this after I take this vape. But the clouds off this thing, they may be minuscule at first, but look at how much cotton I got on here. And that's a really bushy wick, and I'm just, I'm loving every second of it. So the flavor comes off this thing really good. I'm really happy with how I wicked it today. And of course, as you can see, I've got a bunch more of the cotton in case I should run out. I've only used about half a cotton ball of organic Japanese cotton. And I've got quite a good few. I usually take them out of the bag to let them oxidize a little bit, because once they get enough air in them, they taste really good. So, what I'm thinking of doing real quick, hold up. Ooh, I still got some of my zebra stripe bubblegum, just a tiny bit. So I'm thinking once I run off this, I'm finished talking to you guys about the menthol, I'll put that in there. But in any case, so Haas Cool Ice was donated to me from Rite Aid today as part of my review subscriptions, so you can thank them. They are Rite Aid in Hillsborough. They subscribed to me on YouTube recently, and I'll be reviewing their products. So basically what happens is Rite Aid has seen my videos, and they definitely want to help out with how people have been smoking a lot, and they kind of want to help make a difference in that. Now, I'm not sure where they stand on the whole flavor topic, where the whole FDA is trying to ban different flavors beyond tobacco and menthol, and I do kind of understand where they're coming from. For example, a lot of kids pick up vaping at the age of, at earlier ages because of the vast amount of flavors they offer, and I can understand where they're coming from. Kids nowadays will try and get vape products simply because they think it seems cool. It's cooler than smoking. Smoking kills a lot faster than vape, a lot more than vaping. And in the case of vaping, their mentality is similarly along the lines of, hey, it's cool, I can do it, and I don't have to worry about getting cancer like smoking. But now propagandas have been starting to come around where they're saying it's worse for you than smoking, it causes popcorn lung, and they teach it in schools that vaping is bad. Now, that's not exactly true. So we're going to make this our topic today. We're going to be talking about vapors' battle against the government. So we'll kind of put that as a soft topic for today before we get into the flavor. Alright, so let's start off with what makes vaping so popular besides from the beginning. We'll start off with the basics. Vaping, as you know, started off as a simple way to try and help people stop smoking. And it was a lot more popular because with the first installment of e-cigarettes, they allowed people to use vaping as a smoking cessation product. However, a lot of people didn't really find it to work as well. And as the niche kind of took off to become more explosive and much more flavor aimed, they figured they could experiment with different flavors because they already had the base for it, the propylene glycol, nicotine, flavoring, and vegetable glycerin. And as they figured out they could expand their flavors, they decided to create a vast amount because you could use USP food flavoring, for USP grade food flavoring for your flavors, and then add the nicotine as a freebase. But as that evolved, it started to kind of go to something a little more explosive in popularity. So as those flavors developed, it took a while for it to kind of kick off. And Kangertech, the company that I've done a few reviews for recently through SS Vape, they provided the world with the first sub-ohm tank, which means basically it went below 1 ohm. A lot of companies, when they were making their tanks or their proto-tanks, like the simple clearomizers that you'd see at gas stations, those little tiny round ones with the cotton wicks coming down inside of it that you'd fill up, those were called clearomizers, and they were usually above ohm vapes, like say 1 point something or maybe even 2 ohms. But as Kangertech started to notice the niche for better flavors and bigger clouds, they created the sub-tank, or the world's first sub-ohm tank, below 1 ohm. A sub-ohm tank is anything below 1 ohm, and that would classify into RDAs, like my rebuildables. Rebuildables kind of created a niche for the hobby aspect, but we'll get into that in a bit. So, as the flavors really started coming into their own with zillions of flavors, as you could imagine, like for example zebra stripe bubblegum, cotton candy, Swedish fish, just to name a few. They even gave them wacky names like alien piss or unicorn milk, and they had a bunch of flavors, and that really appealed to, I'm sad to say, the younger generation, because they'd be picking that up at a younger age, younger than they would cigarettes. And that's where they come into the idea that it's a gateway to cigarettes if you start younger rather than using it as a cessation. Now, what happens in this case, as we go a little bit further, people who were already using vaporizers to get their nicotine rather than smoking, people who have already converted, they wanted to get bigger clouds, better flavor. And as they learned more and more about electricity from that, they created basically the birth of RDAs, a bare bones structure that allowed you to manipulate the resistance, the flavor, and how the size of your clouds. And that's kind of where the niche for RDAs came in. But anywhere before that, it was usually tanks that could create sub-ohm on par flavors and big clouds. But as people started to notice that niche, kids got into it more and more often, and they were finding it harder, and that's where the whole idea of the FDA flavor ban came in. So most companies, nowadays, they have a bunch of flavors, but the FDA wants to limit us to menthol and tobacco flavors, those were so kindly sent to me through Rite Aid, as I said before. Stuff like Zebra Stripe Bubblegum was sent to me, as you saw, by SS Vape. Now, SS Vape is a vape company. Rite Aid is just a general store company. Now, Rite Aid, they distribute tobacco products. For example, cigarettes and e-cigarettes. Vapes were similarly classed, and in my opinion wrongly classed, as a tobacco product because vapes do not use tobacco. However, they have tobacco flavors, and by limiting us to just tobacco and menthol flavors, that would make it fall under the classification of a tobacco product, which is what they were originally intended to do, but it just didn't really stick because all the flavors that are out there, it's nearly impossible to recall them all after what's going on. So I don't really think the FDA flavor ban will really take hold, and I'm really hoping it doesn't. But so next on to talking about how kids really got into it. Now, think of it. You have a younger generation that has the same mentality as the older generation. The older generation, most of them picked up smoking because it was cool. It wasn't as regulated as it was back then. It was really simple. Heck, even the military gave you cigarettes for free. You could go out and go and get military cigarettes in the military for free. And the previous few generations back, leading up to the previous one, they all basically thought that smoking was cool. And that's basically why they picked it up. And then they got hooked because as the growing addiction for nicotine, or more accurately cigarettes because of the chemicals in them, grew and expanded vastly, we were hit with the cigarette addiction. I don't say nicotine addiction because nicotine is, yes, while it is an addictive product, the chemicals in cigarettes vastly enhance and amplify those addictive qualities. So nicotine on its own isn't a bad thing, but we'll get into that in a minute. So as it expanded and grew beyond the general control, you could find the average smoker, or the heavy smoker, smoking anywhere from 1.5 to 2 packs a day, maybe 3, spending way more money as the product became more in demand, higher in demand than you would on a car. For example, if you smoke roughly 2 packs a day, and let's say you buy 2 packs every time. So a single pack of cigarettes, going by cheapest level, is $5. If you buy a pack of cigarettes for $5 and then buy another pack, that's $10. That's $10 a day. Now, albeit it is definitely a price range thing, because you think you're taking care of your addiction by spending $10 in a day. But what ends up happening is that $10 could build up and up and up, and within a month, that's 10 times 30, that's $300 in a single month. And that's just going by the cheapest cigarette pack I know. That's $300 a month that could have easily gone towards, say, a house payment, your cable bill, or towards your car. It has so many other purposes. Now, there is the price range question with vaping. Me, I'm a reviewer. I get my stuff for free. That's because, as a hobbyist, I'm always looking for ways to be able to do things for that. Now, yes, I get my hobby for free, and there's definitely a bit of discrimination on that. But the thing is, with other people, they will definitely save money by using vaping. However, the price point cost range. Now, if you spend $300 a month on cigarettes, 2 packs a day, albeit, for $5, go from there. We'll just use that as a base point. Vaping. Now, the price point on that would be, say you get a 5-pack of coils for $20 and then 100 milliliters for $30. That's 20, 30, 40, 50. That's $50, and that'll last you, the juice will last you about a month, maybe 2 months tops, depending on how you vape. It is subjective. The coils, each coil head could last you anywhere from 3 weeks to a month per coil. So that's, each month, you'd basically be using a lot more. Sorry, I have something on my screen. You'd basically be spending a lot less than you would, because you're basing your price point on juice rather than coils. Now, with an RDA, you don't have to worry about coils. You just have to have the wire, and you just have to have your juice. Now, you don't have to worry about the coils, because all you basically need are, in your case, if you're just buying, rather than going out to the vape store and buying cotton, you can use cotton balls if you don't have that price range. Then all you have to do is worry about your juice levels. As they run down, you'll basically buy some more when it comes to the end, comes time to buy more. And it's not nearly as much as you would think. For example, this bottle retails $7.99 at Rite Aid, and you can use basically maybe a milliliter a day. This is a 10 milliliter bottle. That means you've got 10 days worth of juice right here. And it leaves no waste. Now imagine, in waste point, a whole 2-pack, there's about 20 cigarettes in a pack of cigarettes. So 20 and 20, that's 40. You have a whole pile of butts right there. This is all you're going to get by vaping. No waste whatsoever except that bottle, and all the bottles are biodegradable except the glass ones. They make sure that all their plastics are biodegradable, so they biodegrade within 3 weeks of being thrown away. And that means there's a lot less of carbon footprint, so it's economically safe, it's geologically friendly, and it's also healthy, or healthier, so to speak. But now we get into the topic of kids using them. At the age of 12, roughly, or 11, depending on how old you are, and go to the mindset that you see these kids vaping on these cool boxes because there's so many of them. There's literally limitless names for their products and types that you can get. It's so vast, and it seems cool. And in reality, it is, but it's not for that age point. When you are 12 to 18, anywhere between there, not just because of the regulations, but also because of the health concerns. Kids who could find their way to getting nicotine flavors with nicotine in them, as well as no nicotine, but still find themselves hooked because they think it's cool. So, we'll dive into a subtopic here about nicotine. Nicotine and caffeine are sister products. Their basic chemical makeup go hand in hand. For example, people who drink coffee, basically station their mornings on it. They need it every morning, no matter what. It's their caffeine fix. It's basically the same thing. Cigarette fix. Go out and get my morning nicotine, or as some people call it, fresh air. I'm going out there. Okay, let's go. Have my cigarette. Have my coffee. You're basically doing the same thing you'd be doing if you were just drinking coffee. You base your morning on coffee. Well, some people base their morning on their cigarettes. Cigarettes have always been associated with nicotine in them. And whenever you think the mainly bad chemical in cigarettes, you think nicotine, because it doesn't list all the thousands of chemicals that go into cigarettes. But there is something to note. Nicotine on its own is not harmful directly. Now, let's kind of differentiate here. A single drop of pure caffeine enters your bloodstream through your mouth, you will either go into a coma, go into shock, or die. Same thing with nicotine. You will either go into a shock, either a coma, or die. Pick one. It's a fact. No matter what you do, those two chemicals in pure form will cause damage to your body, no matter what you do. Coffee. Caffeine is naturally present in coffee, no matter what you do, unless you get decaffeinated, which is all those chemical processes to remove caffeine. And then you get more chemicals than you would be if you were just drinking straight up coffee. Not as good. Nicotine. The thousands of chemicals that are added to it in cigarettes make it more addictive. They amplify the addiction rate to the nicotine. Nicotine on its own is not the harmful substance here. Used in moderation, it actually has many health benefits. It can help with anxiety, it can help with stress, it can help with pain, and it can also help clear your mind. It helps with mental clarity. So when you think cigarettes, you think nicotine. That needs to change, basically, because it's one thing when it's combusted through smoke. Nicotine becomes harmful and produces carcinogens when it's combusted. But when it's vaporized, there's a difference between combustion and vaporization. Combustion is the process by which it goes through burning. Vaporization is the process where it's heated up to a point where it turns into a vapor. For example, putting it on a stovetop and heating it up, causing the molecules to vibrate and faster until it becomes steam. That's vaporization. Smoking, or combustion, is where you place it on a direct heating element until the point of which it becomes so hot that it burns and causes it to char and decay. Nicotine has a decay rate of 0.1 seconds, while it has a vaporization rate of 0.02, meaning the slower the vaporization rate, the more potent it is, but also at the same time, it becomes healthier and does not turn into chemicals that mix with carbon monoxide, allowing it to create carcinogens. That's where vaping and smoking differ greatly. Also, another pro-con base, cigarettes, you don't know how many chemicals are in them. You can't even list them off the top of your head, I guarantee it, unless you are some complete encyclopedia swallower. While vape liquid only contains the 4 chemicals which you can guarantee any vapor will know off the top of their head, any experienced vapor. Propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, artificial or natural USP grade flavoring, and nicotine, which is also optional. So that's where it kind of differentiates. The two are vastly different. Now that I've branched off that subtopic, we can kind of go back to where I was going with it originally, with kids finding it so fun or addicting. And it is a bad thing for kids to get into it so soon. It really is. It is definitely designed for 18 and older, and in some states 21 and older. And I think that's mainly because they're basically just trying to help you make a right decision. Vaping in and of itself is both a hobby and a smoking cessation tool. So if you're quitting cigarettes and you want something to help you get off that with the visual without it being so harmful, you will definitely want to try vaping. But you have to know exactly what you look for in it and have a good and experienced vapor right there to help you. Because there's nothing more satisfying to a vapor than someone who is trying to quit smoking. Our people will literally do our best to help you figure out which is the best vaporizer or type mod or kit for you. There's nothing more pleasurable in our minds than helping someone quit smoking. And it's definitely... Oh, sorry. Guys, if you were wondering why the cloud was so small, it's because I've been using menthol flavors. It's not meant for super big clouds. It's meant for just the flavor. But there is definitely nothing more pleasurable to vapors like us than helping someone quit smoking. And there's a whole list of etiquette rules and things that we try to do to distinguish ourselves from smokers. For example, if you're walking down the street and you're smoking a butt, all of a sudden and there's someone behind you, and all of a sudden that person gets a waft of cigarette smoke, it's going to smell horrible. They're not exactly going to want that in their face. Same with vapors. Vapors, however, we try to distinguish ourselves in that if we're in a large amount of group of people and we're walking down the road, and no one exactly wants to smell our fruity or minty or tobacco smelling flavors. Not everyone wants to smell that. And So at that rate, our best bet is usually to stand off to the side. We try to distinguish ourselves in that way by moving off to the side and keeping our clouds to a minimal. Because it's one thing to go into a vape shop and go, yo, bro, what's up, man? Then a cigarette smoker to walk into a vape shop and go, what's up, man? No, that's just... A vape shop is specifically for vape. And at the same time, while it's one thing if you're smoking a butt outside, but a whole nother to go into a vape shop smoking a cigarette. Because a lot of people seem to miss that point. It's a vape shop, not a smoke shop. But at the same time, we always try to be polite about it. We try to lightly broach the subject. We don't just say, hey, smoking sucks, vaping's better. No, that's not how it goes. Yes, vaping is the future and smoking is the past. That's correct. But at the same time, a smoker will be less likely to try vaping if you go, yeah, smoking sucks and vaping's way better, than if you go, hey, would you like to try this? I can give you a list of all the chemicals in it so that you can make the decision for yourself if you'd like to try it. This flavor is zebra stripe bubblegum. You may remember it from the past during times of bazooka bubblegum with those little comics. And then you can kind of relate on that level, establish a connection with that person's memories of the certain flavor that you may be using. And then see if they'd like to try that flavor. Then explain to them how it works, explain what it does, and how to use it. That way you can give an informative and experienced idea. Because 9 times out of 10, if you're an experienced vapor, you're probably blowing these giant clouds coming right out of your mouth, and you're like clouding up a room in like 3 puffs. A smoker usually gets a puff like this. Somewhere along those lines. Maybe something like that. But if you do something like this, they're not going to want to do that. They're going to cough a lung up because they're not used to so much. Their lungs have literally crowded with tar and they don't have the lung capacity they did when they're younger. At that rate, you'd want to turn your wattage down so they can get a better experience at the level they're at. And eventually, if they want to work their way up, they can. So it kind of helps like that, and it is a very easy and close way to relate to the person rather than forcing it on them and saying, yeah, vaping's better than smoking. But all that aside, let's get to the flavor review for today. So provided to us today is the menthol Cool Ice by Haas and the Shadow Cut tobacco flavor by Haas. A 30 milliliter bottle and a 10 milliliter bottle. Now, as you can see, I've already vaped a little bit of it. I definitely like my menthol flavors every now and again. But it's time to kind of step it up a notch. So I'm going to turn off my airflow, a vast portion. Oh, hold up. Message. Sorry guys, had to pause the video for a second so I could answer a message from my mother. But in any case, so I do like my menthol flavors. They're very tasty, very good, and I definitely enjoy them myself when I'm done with the original flavors that I've been using. But it's time to talk about the menthol, because I've already reviewed the Shadow Cuts tobacco flavor. But it is definitely time to try out that menthol. So I've been vaping on it a little bit throughout the video, but it's time to really give a full impression on it. So I'm going to give it a few fresh drops, and we'll talk about it from there. So let me drip this on here, and we'll give it a good impression. So in the original talks about how this flavor works, basically, it's a menthol flavor, which means mint, in case you guys didn't know. Menthol is a very potent mint flavor, like a peppermint on overdrive, and it is a very, very, very strong flavor. So, let's give it a good vape and see what it does. Ooh, starting to kick up. Sorry, my my airflow isn't what it should be right now. Menthol is a very powerful flavor. It's very strong. And it's definitely it's like swallowing a full-on mint and just letting it dissolve in your throat rather than bringing it to your stomach. And yeah, that can obviously cause choking, but don't do that. Please don't do that and then sue me. It's basically that experience, having the mint sit right there in your throat. And it's very, very powerful for the flavor itself. And I guess it could be considered, hey love, I guess it could be considered a, like rubbing a mint leaf on the back of your tongue and just letting it sit there. But menthol is like what you would consider the palate cleanser. So say you've been vaping a flavor for a really long time, and then that flavor kind of deteriorates and mutes itself and you don't really taste it as much. Using menthol will bring the richness back into that flavor and you'll be on point every time. So it's kind of like a reset for your flavor or your taste buds, and it gives you new enhancements to the flavor. It brings that flavor back up. The flavor you were using before once you're done with the menthol. And it's definitely a nice way to reset your palates when you're like not tasting the flavors, or sipping coffee. Sipping coffee also works really well too. But basically that's all you need to know when it comes to vaping. It's a really simple subtopic. There's a lot of branches like hobbies, hobby vapors, vapors in general, cloud chuckers, flavor chasers, all sorts of different vapor subtitles. So, for example, what kind of vapor are you? I'd love to know in the comments. That's basically the question for today. What kind of vapor are you? Are you a cloud chaser, a flavor chaser, cloud chucker, flavor chaser, a builder, a hobbyist, or just a straight up just a regular vapor who's just converted from smoking? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments and thoughts and ideas in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel so that I can bring you more products from different companies such as Rite Aid and other vape companies, because you guys are what makes this channel memorable. You guys help me come up with new ideas all the time. Friends of mine have always had good input, so I'm always looking for new opinions from good friends and people who are on YouTube as well. I'd definitely like to grow my channel if I can so that I can help more people out, and eventually we will beat the smoking addiction crisis that is in America today. Because as we all know, as vapors, that smoking is the past and vaping is the future. Because it's all about you guys. It's not about me, it's not about other reviewers, it's about you. We do it for you guys. So I gotta say thank you to all the people who have been watching my videos and commenting, even the negative ones. A comment is still someone who actually watched my video, whether they liked it or didn't. And if you don't like it, it's not for you. Big whoop. It's not a big thing to me. I don't really care if you like it or don't. I do it for you one way or another so that you guys have the information and are armed with it so that you can combat all the lies that are put out by society today. So be sure to like and subscribe, as I've said before, and a big shout out to Rite Aid for giving me these flavors to review, and I can't wait to do some more. So hopefully we'll have some new flavors and also some new mods later on in the coming months, because with my job starting up at Sylvania, while I will not be able to upload nearly as often as I would like to, I will definitely do my best to upload as often as possible. It may even be in the evenings, it may be in the mornings, I don't know, but I'll work out a schedule as soon as possible for you guys. So thank you so much for what you guys do for the channel, and thank you again for watching. So until next time, I'm your host, Michael Cobb, and these have been the Visual Vapor Reviews. Peace, guys. Thanks so much again.